I'm divorcing my husband after he invited his ex for dinner and humiliated me. Now, everyone's saying I'm wrong for wanting out. We have a 4-year-old boy together, and Tom and I have been married for 5 years. He was an undergraduate and I was completing my master's degree when we first met in graduate school. I quit my job after getting married, but I had to go back to work when our baby was 6 months old since Tom's salary wasn't enough to support the 3 of us. Many arguments resulted from that choice since Tom believed it was disrespectful to him in some way and demonstrated my lack of confidence in his skills. I tried to persuade him for weeks that this was not related to his ability and that, in my opinion, 2 salaries would be preferable to 1. After he learned he could take some time off work to spend with our son, he finally warmed up to me after being angry with me for a long. The drawback was that I ended up doing all of the housework in addition to my job. Tom says his job is more physically demanding than mine because he works as a personal trainer at a nearby gym. He believes that since I work from a desk, I should take care of the majority of the housework. Despite working longer hours, he said, home chores shouldn't be too taxing for me because I don't perform much physical activity at work. We had agreed when I first started working that he would assist with at least some duties, but every time I returned home, the job was only partially completed. He often claimed to be too tired as an excuse. We would argue about it all the time until I finally gave up on trying to get him to do his share. To prevent the frequent conflicts, I started taking care of everything myself. I started smoking because I was so stressed out. Tom also made fun of me for this, claiming that I was merely attempting to flaunt my level of stress. In addition to enduring Tom's constant criticism of my poor cooking, which was mostly his fault because he never assisted with meal preparation and I had to juggle everything between work and other responsibilities, I had been living like this for the past few years. Knowing that leaving would have an effect on our son's life, I stayed solely for his sake. I finally gave up and hired a maid last year, covering her money out of pocket. Tom continued to make fun of me because he believed it was a reflection of my poor housekeeping abilities. He was often contrasting me with his mother, his aunts, and other women he knew who had no trouble juggling work and home. He would simply laugh it off and tell me to calm down because it was only a joke, even though I would counter that these women most likely had supporting husbands. I would be much more enraged by that. We would occasionally have fun together, but the times he would irritate me were what I remembered, and I had been thinking about getting a divorce for a while. When Tom brought his ex-girlfriend Lucy, 28F, home for supper last week, I finally lost it. His high school girlfriend Lucy and he dated for nearly 6 years before splitting up because they were attending different universities. The first time he saw her was at the grocery store. She had just moved into our area and had asked her over for supper without even asking me. Even after our marriage, Tom's friends would frequently bring her up and make fun of him for it, so I knew these two were quite the item in high school. However, that didn't prepare me for his overly pleasant and flirtatious behavior during dinner. He was clearly attempting to irritate me, and it was succeeding. That was the second strike. Then the third strike. He began making jokes about what a messy housewife I would be and how fortunate I was to have my career as a justification. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to explain to any of my guests why I'm such a bad cook. Because Lucy is a stay-at-home mother of 2 girls, he continued making jokes about how much better she was at everything than I was. He joked that I would never be caught doing anything like that after telling me that Lucy was actually at the grocery store purchasing ingredients for a French dish she intended to prepare for her husband. It made them both laugh a lot. He also mentioned my smoking, claiming that I was only trying to flaunt my stress levels, much like Lucy, who was flawless at everything. I was fighting back tears by that point, but I chose to smile through it all because I didn't want Lucy to get the pleasure of seeing me cry. I decided to leave after serving them ice cream for dessert because it was an embarrassing experience. I waited until Tom went to bed that evening. This wasn't odd because I typically clean the dishes at night and don't go to bed until he's sleeping. I packed some clothes and other essentials for our son and myself, booked a cab, and went to my parents' place as soon as he started snoring. By the time I arrived, it was almost midnight. I started crying as soon as my mother opened the door and I attempted to explain. My youngster, who was irritable and perplexed, started crying as a result. Since I wasn't sure whether Tom could take good care of him while I was away and I didn't want to leave him to find out, I had to bring him along. Without asking, my parents took us in, and when they put my son to bed, I was at last able to collect myself and tell them everything. Tom called me in a hurry the following morning to find out where I was. The worry in his voice vanished and he burst out laughing when I told him the truth and announced that I was going to file for divorce. He advised me to just come home and stop the turmoil. I became so enraged by that I began ranting at him, accusing him of being a misogynistic, lazy, selfish, and inept man. He finally appeared to get that I was serious when I told him that I would rather be single for the rest of my life than return to him. He began arguing with me on the phone, accusing me of exaggerating and making a huge fuss out of nothing, rather than offering an apology. He asserted that there was no need to take things personally and that his jokes were merely an attempt to lighten the atmosphere around Lucy. The problem is that his jokes weren't hilarious. They were nasty and cruel, especially considering that I was already making every effort. Every day he simply continued to test my limits. He began acting like the victim when he realized that this was more than just a joke, saying that I had been plotting my departure for some time and that this was the final straw. Currently, all of our friends are texting me to tell me that I should prioritize our family over myself and not allow a few dumb jokes to ruin our marriage. Everyone keeps saying that I shouldn't ruin a home over some jokes, even though I've attempted to explain that there are a lot of things they don't know. Some people seem to feel more at ease when I posted an explanation of all I had previously discussed. Tom also noticed it and remarked that I should have notified him if these were my issues, and he would have taken care of it. I've been telling him these things for years, but it hasn't changed, so it's absurd. I just finished, and it felt like I was speaking to a wall. But following that post, he began to insist that he only needed one final shot to make it work and that he would change and get better. He convinced some of our acquaintances to try to convince me to stay by telling me that he would undoubtedly improve and make a fantastic spouse. However, it irritates me that he continually bringing up our pals. He seems to be using a deceptive and immature strategy, peer pressure, to try to talk me out of pursuing a divorce. Over the past few years, I've given him numerous opportunities to get better, but he's never done so I don't think he's capable of changing anymore. Even if I stayed right now, I'm confident that he would attempt to make a sincere effort for a few months before reverting to his previous conduct. I'm tired of being a single mother even though I have a spouse, and I'm not getting any younger. He's hardly the ideal role model for our son, aside from anything else. I most certainly do not want my son to grow up in a home where Tom's kind of behavior is accepted. For the sake of my son, I stayed with him for a very long time, and now I'm leaving him for the same reason. I filed for divorce 2 days ago, and he was served today. He is upset primarily because he never wanted a divorce in the first place, and because I have asked to keep the house where we lived and filed for full custody of our son, or sell it and divide the proceeds 60-40, with me receiving the larger portion. Since both of our parents gave us the house as a wedding present, I believe it is only just that I keep it or that we divide the proceeds from its sale. Because of all the labor and effort I've put in over the past few years, working full-time, raising my son, and handling all home chores without his assistance, I feel that I should be given the greater part. I believe the petition is quite reasonable because I'm not even asking for alimony. Even though I want a divorce, Tom claims I'm being unfair and that I shouldn't have asked for full custody because our son is equally his and mine. Which is reasonable, but I don't believe he's capable of being a father. He may still visit and see his son whenever he wants to. I haven't attempted to take away his visiting privileges. He simply does not have him on a full-time basis. After I was served, he called and said I was being crazy and that this was a terrible overreaction. He claimed that since I was requesting full custody in the house, he already didn't agree with the divorce and had good reason to think I was being irrational. It was really embarrassing when he broke down in tears on the other end when I stated that I had thought a lot about it and that it hadn't been easy for me either. It's very clear from everything I've written that Tom isn't a particularly emotional person, so his breakdown is a huge issue. He was crying and told me, very dramatically, that he had taken everything for granted because he never thought he could bear to lose me one day. He pleaded with me to give him one final opportunity to demonstrate his ability to be a wonderful father and husband. I had to let him know that my decision was definite and that he had come to the realization a bit too late, even though it was really difficult for me to do so. I couldn't simply return to the life. It was strange and uncomfortable for me to have to stay on the phone and try to comfort him for the following several minutes as he began to cry even more. He eventually stopped sobbing and declared that if our son suffered as a result, he would never be able to forgive either himself or me. We might renegotiate the terms of his custody in a few years when he's a little older, so I reassured him that this was only a temporary arrangement. I informed him that although this would be difficult for us both, we needed to strive to be strong for our son's sake and make the most of our circumstances. However, he quickly ended the call, and for the next few hours, I didn't hear from anyone. But all of a sudden, our pals have been contacting me once more, telling me that what I'm doing is fundamentally wrong and that I should think twice before acting. They're arguing that rather than being so heartless and self-centered, I should give it some thought since Tom is pleading for one more chance. It was only a handful at first, but now it's almost everyone we know, and I'm beginning to seriously think about changing my mind because I might be the bad guy here. I have no idea anymore. Since my husband doesn't assist me, am I the jerk for requesting a divorce and full custody of our son? Hello, following a very hectic week, I'm back with an update. My lawyer and I have been getting ready for the talks. For the divorce settlement and custody dispute, Tom and I will first meet with the mediator appointed by the court. The actual divorce process doesn't worry me too much, but I'm quite anxious about the custody dispute. Everyone keeps saying that my desire for full custody is absurd, but they don't see the big picture. Our son spends more time with me and always has, so I know he favors me. We all know that's not how kids operate, but Tom has always attempted to build a relationship with our son just on his terms. Observing Tom's abrupt change into a worried father has been one of the most annoying aspects of the previous week. He has been making false claims on social media about how much he misses his son and how unfair it is that he is unable to see him. He hasn't attempted, but he is welcome to come at any time. These posts have been reposted by a number of mutual acquaintances, who have added their own remarks about what a loving parent he is. The truth is very different. Even our son's daily schedule, preferred meals, and allergies are unknown to Tom. He called us only recently to inquire if our youngster still enjoys dinosaur-shaped nuggets. Due to his current space-themed food obsession, our son hasn't had those in more than a year. These minor details cast doubt on his capacity to serve as a main caregiver. Given that I have been actively involved in our son's life while Tom has only occasionally done so, my lawyer believes we have a solid case. Everything from the doctor's visits I've taken our son to, the parent-teacher conferences Tom has missed, and the daily schedule I've kept up while working a full-time job are all being documented. The financial side of things is a complete disaster. Some preliminary documents were sent over by Tom's lawyer, who is disputing my request for the house. They contend that it ought to be divided equally because it was a wedding present from both families. Conveniently, they fail to mention that I have been responsible for all of the upkeep, fixes, and upgrades throughout the years. The incessant barrage of messages from people who hardly understand our predicament is what's truly getting to me. Even some of Tom's gym patrons have contacted me to express their sadness and to tell me what a wonderful man he has always been. They seem to be living in a different universe where having a charming personality at work inevitably translates into being a good spouse and father. My mother-in-law's response has been the most unexpected development. She genuinely phoned me to let me know that she understood my decision, in contrast to the majority of our friends who have sided with Tom. She disclosed that during the early years of their marriage, she and Tom's father experienced similar problems, but she decided to stay and try to resolve them. I could tell how that worked out for her just by the resignation in her voice as she stated those words. All of this has been made possible by the tremendous support of my own parents. When I need to meet with lawyers or take care of paperwork, my mom has been watching our son while my dad helps me manage my financial documents. I've come to appreciate how alone and unsupported I felt in my marriage thanks to their assistance. To be honest, there have been occasions when the tension has been too much to handle. For the first time since I moved out, I found myself reaching for a cigarette last night, but I restrained myself. I came to the realization that my smoking was not a necessity, but rather a result of my marital dissatisfaction. You get clarity in these moments, which is odd. Late at night, Tom has begun texting me lengthy texts that range from tearful pleas to irate accusations. He mentioned in his most recent message that he has been learning how to properly do washing and cooking by viewing tutorials. If it weren't so depressing, it would almost be humorous. At the age of 28, he is only now choosing to develop these fundamental life skills. Screenshots of Tom's private social media posts, in which he offers his perspective, have been sent by several mutual acquaintances. He presents himself as a loving spouse who was taken by surprise by a wife who had never expressed her displeasure. People are accusing me of being cold-hearted and speculating that I may be experiencing a midlife crisis in the comments section. That one made me laugh. It seems like I'm already experiencing a midlife crisis at the age of 35. My lawyer told me not to react to any of these provocations, but to record everything. She claims that when he engages in this type of deceptive behavior in public, it actually helps our cause. It's difficult to avoid feeling under attack from all sides, though. Observing how much more at ease our son has been since we relocated to my parents' place is the one thing that keeps me grounded. He appears to be happier overall and is eating and sleeping better. Naturally, he still inquires about his father, but he isn't as worried about it as he was when we all shared a home and things were tense. Next week is the date of my first mediation session. Even though my lawyer has prepared me for this, I'm still anxious. I'm aware that it will be a challenging process because Tom's attorney has already stated that they intend to vigorously oppose the full custody request. Every day that goes by makes me feel more certain about my choice, even with all the pressure and second guessing from others. I've been reminded of what a supportive home is like by living with my parents. For the first time in years, I'm getting enough sleep, and I'm beginning to recall my former self before I got so caught up in trying to make an impossible scenario work. As we begin the legal proceedings, the upcoming weeks will be critical. After the mediation session, I'll provide another update, but for now, I just wanted to express my gratitude to everyone who helped me with my first post. When I was most doubting myself, your remarks kept me going. Update 2. Tom paid us a visit at my parents' house today. Since my last update, which was a week and a half ago, I must admit that I was terrified of this encounter. This was most likely our final informal meeting before the actual legal process starts, as we have our mediation session in a few days. Given all of his recent passionate text messages, I anticipated this visit to be contentious. But today's events fundamentally altered my viewpoint on a number of issues. Tom was standing there when I answered the door, looking more put together than I had seen him in a long time. In addition to bringing a small gift bag for our son, he was dressed appropriately in a button-down shirt rather than his typical gym clothing. His manner truly caught my attention. None of the defensiveness or animosity I had been bracing myself for was present. Even when we were married, he seldom ever engaged in small chat with my parents. He talked to my dad about some local sports and inquired about my mom's garden. Yes, it was embarrassing, yet oddly polite. This unexpectedly normal conversation lasted for approximately 15 minutes before he asked to see our son. It took me a bit to answer because the way he asked, not demanded, but asked, was already so different from how he usually behaves. When we entered the living room, our son was playing. His whole face brightened when he spotted Tom. "Daddy!" he yelled, dropping his toys and sprinting directly into Tom's embrace. I saw their contact from the doorway. When I brought up our son's new space passion in the custody documents, Tom brought a new puzzle, one with spaceships, demonstrating that he had genuinely listened. Tom led our kid to take the lead in assembling it, something he had never done before, and they sat on the floor together. Typically, he attempted to regulate the activities and became irate when our son did not precisely follow his directions. Hearing Tom inquire about our son's day, his daycare pals, and his favorite aspects of living at Grandma and Grandpa's place truly got to me. He truly listened to our son's meandering responses about the treehouse in the backyard and the neighbor's cat. I had never witnessed him interact with our son in this way in all the years we had been married. At one occasion, our son began to tell Tom about how I prepare rocket-shaped sandwiches for him. Previously, Tom would have made a snarky remark about my culinary abilities, but now he wanted our kid to show him how. Our son took his father's instruction on how to properly assemble a rocket sandwich extremely seriously, and they spent the next 20 minutes in the kitchen. Our son's question about when he may see his father again was the true turning point. I was struck by the hopeful expression on both of their cheeks. Tom didn't try to control the situation or make demands right away. He simply stared at me while he awaited my answer. When it was time for Tom to leave after they had finished playing, our son gave him a big embrace and invited him to return the next day. Tom gave me a curious look, and before I had given it much thought, I found myself nodding. Before Tom went, we had a little conversation at the door. He admitted that he had been a terrible father thus far, without displaying his customary defensiveness. He acknowledged that he realized how much he had missed by not being more involved after witnessing our son's growth and transformation in only these few weeks. Even though he couldn't be a better husband, he assured me he was willing to learn everything he could to become a better father. He said he had been attending parenting classes 3 times a week and had hired a nanny to teach him how to properly care for children. Not to gloat, but to show me that he was serious about this, he displayed the diplomas on his phone. He didn't make any lofty claims about changing or try to get me to return. He simply asked me to reevaluate the complete custody agreement instead. He proposed that we arrange a timetable that would allow him to demonstrate his ability to be a responsible parent without interfering with our son's daily routine. I phoned my lawyer after he departed. The following paragraph is logically separated and punctuated. I informed her that I would be willing to talk about a joint custody agreement and that I no longer wanted to pursue full custody. She brought up all of the records we had collected demonstrating Tom's prior lack of involvement, but I told her that even if he hadn't been a good husband, I needed to give him an opportunity to improve as a father. Our son's expression of unadulterated happiness today made me realize that, even though it's the proper thing to terminate my marriage, I don't have the authority to break off my son's relationship with his father, especially now that Tom is finally demonstrating that he wants to be the father our son deserves. Update 3. Surprisingly, the divorce talks are proceeding considerably more amicably than I had anticipated. Tom and his attorney have been extremely helpful, which I believe is his way of expressing regret for his previous actions. Our son's custody arrangements are still being worked out verbally and informally, but we're thinking that he should spend half of the month at his dad's house and the other half at mine. Actually, we're doing just that at the moment. In a few days, my son will move in with his father. This arrangement first made me nervous, but Tom has really come through for me. To his great relief, he has begged his mother for assistance. She has been more supportive than some of my closest friends, even when our marriage ended. She still gives me a call every day to see how I'm doing and sends me photos of the bedroom she's helping Tom furnish for our boy. Additionally, the house matter has been settled more readily than I had thought. In recognition of the extra effort I had put in over the years, Tom agreed to sell it and divide the revenues 55-45 in my favor. This solution was actually proposed by his attorney, demonstrating their sincere desire to be fair. In addition, Tom has taken a co-parenting course, which was suggested by the mediator but not necessary. Through our new co-parenting app, which allows us to manage appointments, calendars, and our son's activities without having to speak to each other directly, he has been updating me on his progress. The way Tom manages our son's space period has been the most unexpected development. His apartment's spare room has been converted into a miniature planetarium, complete with ceiling-mounted glow-in-the-dark stars. In order to maintain continuity between houses, he asked me for our son's nighttime ritual, which he has been practicing with his mother. Since neither of us believes that a 2-week period without seeing either parent is healthy for our son, I continue to see him every few days while Tom is away. We've arranged for Wednesday supper with whoever doesn't have him that week and alternating weekends. Instead of rehashing our marital problems, the mediation sessions have been fruitful since they have focused on realistic co-parenting techniques. Regarding managing school schedules, healthcare decisions, and holiday plans, Tom has been actively engaging, taking notes, and posing pertinent questions. No more conflict on social media or late-night texts. We've set clear contact boundaries. Our lawyers or the co-parenting app handle everything. In a last update, Tom willingly removed all of his earlier posts regarding our predicament and said that we are resolving the matter in private for the sake of our son. Through all of this, his mother has been an unanticipated blessing. In addition to teaching Tom how to be a parent, she also acts as a mediator between us when tensions arise. She set up a meeting with both sets of grandparents last week so we could have a reasonable conversation about our disagreements over preschool alternatives. In the end, we came up with a solution that satisfied everyone. Our son appears to be adjusting to the new situation rather nicely. Although we're attempting to keep things somewhat consistent by bringing his favorite stuffed animals with him when he moves between homes, he is thrilled to have 2 rooms and 2 sets of toys. Without showing any signs of concern, he stopped asking when we were returning home and instead talked about mommy's and daddy's houses. Our lawyers are taking care of the financial matters expertly. With explicit instructions on how much each of us will pay and how the funds may be utilized, we are creating a joint account especially for our son's costs. Tom proposed this on his own because he wanted to make sure that our financial obligations as co-parents were transparent. We have a thorough parenting plan that addresses everything from medical choices to education. Even instructions on how to manage future relationships have been included, such as meeting any possible new partners before presenting them to our kid. I am aware that there are still obstacles in our way. This is only the start of our co-parenting adventure, and there will surely be setbacks. However, for the first time since it all started, I have genuine hope that we will be able to prioritize our son's needs and cooperate as parents, even if we are unable to cooperate as spouses. The most important thing is that my son is happier than I have seen him in months. Both Tom and I now realize that letting go of the previous hurts is less essential than becoming good co-parents. I'm glad we were able to come to an agreement that prioritizes our son's welfare while still enabling us to have deep connections with him. I appreciate all of your help and guidance during this trip. When I was having self-doubt, your advice kept me going and helped me make choices that would benefit my son and myself. This community has been an amazing source of insight and strength. My wife got bored with me and secretly called her ex to come and F her. This is how I uncovered everything. Hello everyone, I've been lurking on this topic for over a year, but I can't keep reading and need some advice on my predicament. I would welcome any feedback. I'm 35 years old, and my 31-year-old wife stopped having any intimacy with me about 6 months ago, and I'm not sure what to do. We have 2 boys, one is 3 years old and the other is 1.5. We are also in the process of building a house. I don't like watching the world burn, and I like to take action as soon as possible to address any difficulties. So I started a talk with my wife to figure out what transpired. I asked her, "Why did you stop speaking to me, hugging me, and kissing me? Why did you get concerned about the contact of my hand on your body? Why did you stop having any type of closeness with me?" She was initially reluctant to speak. There was a difficult cover to breach, but she eventually opened up. What I discovered is that I'm not enough for her. She's doing everything alone, can't rely on me, and feels like she's wearing the pants around the house. She told me she makes all of the decisions and handles the kids on her own. She even stated, You would be better alone. She mentioned that I'm an introvert, but not a diehard one, among other things. It was upsetting to hear, but I accepted her words. I assured her I understood her suffering and promised to improve my behavior so she wouldn't have to worry about it. I love her so much that I'd rather agree than start a fight. However, I have my own thoughts, which occasionally prevent me from sleeping. A major red flag led me to this group. Her accusations are false, in my opinion, yet I honestly believe I meet the standards of a good husband. I work from home for about 8 to 9 hours per day, but then I care for my boys. I play with them, feed them, take the older one swimming, put them to bed and so on. I can also get up in the middle of the night if necessary. Aside from caring for the children, I help with housework. I do the dishes, grocery shopping, and some cleaning, but she likes to clean because I am not as efficient. I handle the car and other aspects of our new home. I do a lot to make her life simpler, and I know it's difficult with 2 little sons. The truth is, I'm not someone who is constantly proactive. Some folks can't sit on the couch for more than 5 minutes without thinking about what to do next, what to mend, what business to start, or what duties to complete. Her father is like this, but I am not. Once the kids are asleep, the work is completed, and the house is cleaned, I prefer to relax by watching a movie or playing video games. I am also not the sort to start my own business. I am skilled in my profession and prefer to be instructed what to do in order to do my tasks successfully. There are plenty of people like that, and I'm not ashamed of it. I don't pursue a glamorous career. I don't imagine having millions in my bank account. I'm simply a regular guy, a good-looking one, who wants to have a healthy, happy family while earning a reasonable living. I knew she was having problems with that, despite having been happily married for 4 years and together for 5 years prior. The conversation happened in December. After that, I began to work against my personality, which resulted in some proactive effort, such as additional groceries and house repairs. Basically, not sitting on my butt in the evenings. There's no rest. She liked it, but it didn't improve her attitude toward me, so I had to initiate a second conversation. Given how she treated me, I questioned her from the outset. Do you want to save the marriage? She said, I don't know. It was difficult to swallow, but in order to proceed, I asked her, do you want to go to marriage counseling? She said, I don't know. I continued. It's not a moment to not know if our kids may have parents living separately soon. After hearing that, she agreed, and I needed to get a therapist. She showed no interest in that. During our conversation, she revealed to me several sad truths such as, I married you simply to impress my parents and married sisters so that we might have a large happy family with beautiful children. I married you because I was fascinated rather than in love. I also learnt that she had a meeting with her colleague clergyman to discuss our marriage. Anyway, I found a fantastic therapist, and we're approaching our 3rd session. We discovered that we have distinct love languages. I require touch, she needs work done. However, she hasn't touched me since we started counseling. No hugging. After the 2 sessions, I asked her whether she liked it and how she felt, and all she said was that she's uncomfortable sharing our personal information with an unknown stranger. When the therapist discovered we hadn't slept in the same room in 6 months, she was taken aback. My wife said that it is because she is sleeping with the children in the bed, and there is no room for me. The therapist responded that not allowing a husband in the bedroom sets a negative example for the children and that if there isn't enough room on the bed, go to IKEA and buy a single bed and install it next to the larger one. I did exactly that. I bought it, put it together, and am currently sleeping there. Funny thing is, I still feel like I'm sleeping alone. She's far to the left, the boys are in the center, and I'm far to the right. My wife's testimony has altered slightly since the beginning of the issue. She began to express her depression as a result of spending so much time at home with her children. She informed me she said all of those things because she was overly emotional, etc. I would never say anything like that to her under any circumstances, but I guess I had to trust her. She recently returned to work, and we hired a nanny. The only change in her conduct is that we began to communicate, but I am more than just her friend. I am also her spouse, and there is no intimacy. There are no signs that things will improve. She doesn't care about the next marriage counseling appointments, so I have to keep arranging them. She informed me she doesn't need sex and had only done it when I wanted it. I felt like an abuser. She was never into lovemaking. We had it once a week, which was okay with me. It could have happened more frequently, but it was fine. We've had sex twice this year, both out of pity. One was in early January to celebrate my birthday. Now it appears that I need to have a birthday to be laid. The other time was following a counseling session. She just lay there, covering her chest and waiting for me to finish, which made me want it less. That is not what this is meant to be about. When I bring it up, she simply replies, "That's who I am. If you don't like it, simply leave me. I do not know what to do. Please advise." Update 1. There was one instance where my wife attempted to phone her ex-boyfriend 4 times in a row at 10 p.m. She didn't talk to him, but she attempted to contact him. I know this because we used to have an app that saved our 2 phone numbers and allowed me to see incoming and outgoing calls for both. After that, I went crazy. Why does my wife contact her ex 4 times at 10 p.m.? I chose to check her texts on her laptop. I felt bad, but it was justified. We were married, had children, and she was acting strangely. After phoning him 4 times, she texted him, "I'm going to keep calling until you pick up and talk to me like a normal human being." When I asked her about it, she lied and said she wouldn't call him. So I showed her the app and her outgoing calls. She had nothing else to do except admit that she attempted to contact him. I inquired why, and she said that she was phoning back, knowing that she had also written to him after the call. I asked if she wrote to him after the call, and she responded no. Then I showed her the message she sent to him. She said that he had gotten drunk and called her, saying some nonsense. When she heard it, she ordered him to fuck off and hung up. Then she felt bad about it and tried calling him 4 times because he didn't answer. Finally, she wrote what she did and he did not respond. I'm not sure what to think about it. It happened about the time she stopped being intimate with me. Her perspective on the scenario is that it is neither strange nor awful, and that hiding it from me was not crucial to her. The point is, any communication with an ex is a terrible sign, and it is unacceptable to me. Is she cheating? We hadn't had any intimacy in 6 months and then the calls came. Update 2. Thanks to everybody for your insights. At first, I couldn't believe how many of you said she was cheating on me. It reminded me of science fiction, something I'd only see in movies. Maybe I thought my wife would never do something like this, but today everything changed. It became a fact. I feel stupid for being just another person in this circumstance, but I guess that's how life works. Now I know I promised to call her ex and speak with her family, but I decided to take a step back and keep it cool. Could you believe how simple that was? All I did was install a voice-activated recorder in our car, not a GPS. It was only there for 3 days. She took the car for work, then went to a workout, and then called him. Or perhaps he called her. I'm not sure who called who, but I heard everything. It was a video conversation on the phone. I learned everything I needed to know about sex and our respective lifestyles. They talked as my wife and I did when we first met 9 years ago. The same attraction, jokes, and so on. I haven't had this with her in a long time. They even discussed vacation plans. She wants to visit him in July. Wow, she offered him 2 years to move back to our country. I can't believe this. Now, after listening to an hour-long recording of this nonsense, I have some things to process. I need to meet with an attorney next week. All I wanted to say was thank you. You opened my eyes. If it hadn't been for you, I would never have purchased the blasted voice recorder. And to think, I felt horrible putting it in the car. My God. I will keep you updated, but for now, I need to relax and think about my children and what she has done. They started this in September of last year and it took me 2 months to detect changes in her behavior. I will be caring for my elderly father in another city for the next week, therefore she will be unable to work for that time. Instead, she'll use my home office. This also indicates she'll most likely be speaking with him in the office. Should I store the recorder in the office for the next week, or do I have enough? Update 3. It began in September of last year and I've been out of the picture for quite some time. Right now, she doesn't want to spend any time with me in the apartment we rent. She always has an excuse, something to do, visiting her parents, going to see her friends, etc. She even falls asleep or simply lies in bed after we put our children to bed, 1 and 3 years old. The recording says it all. She expresses her love for him, her desire to visit him, and to have sex with him. They talk extensively about his personal life. She told him she wanted to go on a trip with him and that she would marry him shortly. She even said she was leaving me. They talked about his preferred lovemaking position. So sure, they had sex. It is all there. The thing is, she has no idea that I know. Her entire family and circle of friends have no idea. They simply believe we are going through a brief crisis. She is one of 3 Catholic sisters and attends church every Sunday. We live in a tiny town with 20,000 inhabitants. We recently built a house, but it is not finished. I believe she will petition for divorce very soon. I can tell she is suffering with me in the apartment, and she can't take it longer. Her body language and absolute absence of discussion demonstrate this. She wants me to leave soon so that I can be gone for a while, and then, within 2 years, the AP, affair partner, will relocate to the tiny town to live with her and my 2 young sons in our home. In the recording, she says she gives him 2 years to return to our country. People will understand that she needs a father for her children and will not object. The AP is her first boyfriend. And they dated for 7 years before she married me. We have been together for 9 years. The AP lives abroad but makes frequent visits to our country. I refuse to be played that way. I now have an attorney, and we will meet with him soon to discuss this. I can basically ruin her reputation by giving people clips from the recording. Please provide me with any suggestions. What should I do if she served me papers? According to my attorney, my documents will require a month of preparation. I never imagined I would be dealing with a monster like this. Update 4. I visited with the attorney and got some important information. It turns out that destroying her universe would not be a wise decision. We have children, and I'll be co-parenting with her for the next 15 to 16 years. Another reason is that I respect her family and do not want them to serve as witnesses in the divorce. Also, I would not gain custody of the children because they are young and need to remain with their mother in the tiny town, which is an hour away from me in the capital city. I'd be an every other weekend father anyway. Finally, I would not be able to sell our house because the children require adequate living conditions and will not be able to find alternative housing. They are currently living on her father's farm, which is only temporary. As bad as it seems, this is the truth in Poland, Europe. Following our conversation, the attorney sent her the documents. They were scheduled to be delivered shortly after Easter. Easter is celebrated in Poland over 2 days, on Sunday and Monday. I faked it all at the table, and drinking helped a lot. Yesterday, Tuesday, I had a day off from work and was caring for my 1-year-old son. She went to work in the capital city, which is an hour away. In the interim, my brother assisted me in moving all of my belongings from the flat to his car. The postman delivered the divorce papers, which were actually an invitation to mediation, so that we could divide things civilly and divorce amicably. According to the article, she is in a relationship with this guy, which is why she is getting divorced. The evidence I have will be used as leverage when establishing child support, etc. When she entered the house, I informed her that I knew everything. I have incontrovertible documentation. I am profoundly hurtful, and she should call my lawyer. Then I handed her the divorce papers and left to visit the folks. Of course, she began to question what and how I knew, and she denied everything. Her parents were shocked, but they believed me. I documented everything, as instructed by my counsel. It began with me asking if they thought I was a nice, caring husband and father. They agreed, and now she can't use them as witnesses against me in court. As I previously stated, they believed me and recognized that what she had done was horrific. She had devastated our lives as well as the lives of our children. I thanked them for their understanding and headed to the capital. Meanwhile, I called a buddy, who took care of delivering the news to her friends. 2 hours later, my brother-in-law called to tell me that she admitted to cheating on me with the AP, affair partner, but she did not admit to having sex with him. He told me that everyone was on my side, and she had destroyed our family. He also informed me that her sister had visited my soon-to-be ex-wife and told her how nasty she is. But in the end, he claimed that all could be saved. He had cheated on his wife, she had forgiven him, and they were now happy. Then her father called and said that it was entirely her responsibility and that she had no idea what she had done. He informed me that the AP would never enter his home and that he would stop financially supporting my soon-to-be ex-wife. He even contacted the AP, but the individual did not answer. In the end, he expressed his belief that it could be salvaged. Finally, her other sister texted me, saying she fully supports me but feels it can be saved. I dislike that because I am certain it cannot be rescued. I'm concerned they'll cling to the fact that I don't have a love-making tape of them, and my reasoning will be insufficient to convince her to go. I have audio recordings of mom saying stuff like, "Make sure you'll last more than 3 seconds when I see you in Holland," and, "I wonder whether your dad's junk is the same as yours." You know what? I'll approach that woman and ask her how long your brother's crap is, then tell her how long yours is. She also used phrases like, "I love you. I am planning to leave my hubby. Please record yourself and give me the video. Your favorite position is crappy style with a straight back, and I'm showing you what your life with me will be like. I'm giving you 2 years to relocate back here." All of this, combined with her lack of emotion toward me during the last 7 months, is proof enough for me. Furthermore, soon after the incident, she informed me that she would never stop loving him. This is more than adequate proof for me. What are your thoughts? Anyway, as many of you have previously indicated, She is currently crawling back after her family confronted her with everything. She's sending me texts like, "I had no idea what I was doing. I can't picture life without you. I am deeply sorry for anything I have done. I'm waiting with the kids for your return." She also stated that she did not mean to inform me that she has always loved him. I'm not sure, they're making me feel like I rushed into the divorce since I don't have a real love-making tape. They do not know everything. All they know is that I have proof, but she won't acknowledge having sex with him. It's plausible because he's in Holland, but he may have seen her here. Update 5. Many of you informed me that now that the papers had been served, she would begin crawling back to save her face in front of the family and to get me back because she requires a lot of assistance with our 2 young boys. It happened, she began writing to me on Messenger, although not very frequently. All of the messages read the same: "I can't imagine my life without you. I love only you." She also sent images of our children and words stating, "We're waiting for you and love you very, very much." That is it. It has been 5 weeks and she hasn't contacted or visited me. She had numerous possibilities, including driving past my parents' house, where I currently live. Only Messenger texts appear infrequently. We also saw each other a few times while switching children, and she never tried to apologize or say anything, just a brief hi and bye. Her family began communicating with me much more regularly. Her father contacted me twice, her mother emailed me a dozen links to Christian pages about forgiveness, and one of her sisters texted me, apologizing and believing my wife has been possessed by an evil spirit. Her other sister explained how my wife had damaged our family and that she did not expect me to return to her. My brother-in-law even stopped over and took me out for a beer. He wasn't attempting to be persuasive, he was simply discussing what had happened and what might happen in the future if I didn't return. Sure, he wanted me to come back, but he wasn't forcing me. Essentially, all of these conversations were the same. "We can't believe she did what she did. We would like you to return to her, but we understand if you do not." However, the day came when I had made up my mind. My lawyer informed her lawyer that I had decided that I would not be able to forgive her in time and requested a divorce. My lawyer provided my terms, and we're currently waiting for her counsel to respond. While I waited for their response, her sister began criticizing me and telling me that I was going to wreck the marriage. She claimed unequivocally that it was my wife who started all of this by being selfish, but she is now very regretful, crying, and wishing she could turn back time. Now it is my turn to be selfish, and I intend to end the marriage by divorcing her. According to her, it's all on me now because I can rescind the divorce and return it for the children. She suggested I didn't even need to return to my wife, just raise my 2 sons. She told me how angry I am and how it will only become worse with time. She told me to just suck it up and keep living with my wife, framing this divorce as my revenge on her but stressing that it is also retribution on our children. I can't understand it. Others had warned me that this would happen, that the circumstances would shift and her family would turn against me, but it still shocked me. For a moment today I felt horrible, as if it was all my fault, that my wife treated me like garbage for more than half a year, that she chose to abandon me physically and emotionally, and that she wanted to leave. So yes, they had a strong influence on me. It's incredibly difficult, but I won't change my mind. The divorce will occur. It appears that they now have a narrative in which I am the guy who abandons the kids. I've been thinking about how to end this dispute by giving my terms for reconciliation, terms she's unlikely to accept. I don't love her, but I do it for the kids, whom I adore dearly. No marriage, only a relationship. Separate your finances. She leaves her hometown and moves with her children to the capital city where I live, GPS in the car till she stops driving in her old age, daily phone checks, all after I finish my 7 months of dates with random girls. I would also not be afraid to cheat during the relationship and never tell her. If she finds out, it makes no difference because there is no marriage. I do not care. What are your thoughts? It's only a notion. Nothing serious. I probably won't do it anyhow, but I don't know what else to do to keep the family from accusing me of abandoning the children. In Poland, Europe, tiny children like ours must be near their mother in the event of a divorce. I can't have them since she lives in a tiny town an hour distant from me, and the kids attend kindergarten and nursery there. We cannot divide custody 50-50ths. I'll be the every other weekend dad, with full access anytime I choose. It's sad and unpleasant, but that's how it is. Update 6. It's been 2 months since I confronted her, gave her divorce papers, and relocated to the capital city, an hour away from the little hamlet where we used to live together. I currently live with my parents and sleep on the couch in their living room. The dining table has been converted into a workspace/entertainment area, and my clothes are hung on every chair around. I work from home for 8 hours and then normally help my elderly parents, who are 88 and 71 years old, with household duties. I do their grocery and drive them to doctor's appointments. Apart from that, I go to the gym or the movies to get away from bad thoughts about what happened. I visit my children every weekend. She drops them off, and I take them back. The weekends are fantastic, and I find myself actually happy when I'm with them. I took a paternity test, and the boys are mine, so there is no confusion there. The situation with the divorce terms is currently unknown. It's difficult to predict what will happen because I live with my parents, and as a father of two and a mature man, I don't have anywhere else to live. I want a large sum of money from my wife and she is taking over the mortgage for the house. She consented to the mortgage takeover but only offered 1/3 of the amount I requested, citing her contribution to the house's construction. The thing is, I did not cause this circumstance. I'm not guilty, and I need a place to live. 1/3 of the sum I want will not help me buy a flat, so the discussion between our attorneys continues. She's offering me such a low price because she wants to keep the house. However, the last time we spoke, I learnt that she may be forced to sell it. This is what she should have done since the beginning. She'll be unable to pay both the mortgage and me. We'll see how it goes. Other financial issues, such as child support, are also up for debate. She wants too much, and it must be agreed upon. She also argues that I should be the one to pick up the children from the little town and drive them home. By the end of the weekend, there will have been a lot of fuel and time spent. It should be her dropping them off and me driving them home. As you can see, she is responsible for everything, but she is also willing to argue about the conditions of the divorce. Her sister invited me to attend her daughter's communion last Sunday. I went to spend more time with my boys. Every family member is aware that my decision is definite, therefore they did not even attempt to talk to me about it. I basically took care of my boys while everyone else drank and ate at the table following the ceremony. However, at one point my wife questioned whether my decision was completely final. I glanced at her and said as gently as I could, "Yes, it is final, and nothing will change it. I'm here now for my guys, to spend as much time with them as possible." However, she went on to express her genuine shame and regret for what she had done. She informed me she stopped her relationship with the AP by going to an exorcist, telling him everything about the affair, and then leaving it in God's hands. To that, I said that I don't care about her priest, and if there's anyone she should be telling everything to, it's me. At that point, it was just ludicrous, but I said, "Okay, if you're truly sorry, I'm here to give you one last chance to tell me the whole truth. Tell me how often you had sex with him." She said that she didn't. Then I asked her, "Do you remember that party you held with your work pals in November? Why did you rent a flat for the night, Airbnb, instead of staying at one of your friend's apartments?" After hearing it, she went paralyzed and couldn't say anything except, "Why do you need to keep torturing yourself with it?" I stated that if she was truly sorry, she would stop lying 2 months after I left her. This was just one example. I told her having sex over video chat is the same, and I knew she did it with him. She could not remember how many times she had done it with the AP. After that, I asked her, "How do you picture getting back together? You start a conversation with me, then lie the next second. Do you realize I'll be checking your phone every day? What are your thoughts about that?" She responded, "That would not be trust. It would simply be treating me as rubbish." Then our son intervened, and the conversation was nearing its end. I ended with, "Remember, you didn't just cheat on me. You also cheated on our 2 adorable, wonderful boys." It ruined her. She began shrieking that this was the last time I told her something like that in front of our children. It's interesting because her sister has told me that my wife is hurting and crying every day as a result of all of this. It's a true two-faced woman, sobbing in front of her family while lying to me. She even stated that if she wished, she would join the AP and her family. I couldn't do anything about it, as if I should be grateful that she broke up with him and is now in control of not being with him. So come on. I think I'm simply venting at this point and keeping you updated. Thank you all for your support. I'll be strong and end this mess one day. I believe my boys will want psychological assistance if things do not turn out nicely. The older one has been scared lately, but I will always be there for them. Update 7. Our attorneys finally reached a deal, and the divorce will take place shortly. She has taken over the unfinished house and is now solely responsible for the mortgage. The house is for the kids, and I don't want anyone to tell me later that I sold it as part of my revenge on her. Furthermore, I don't want to live in her small hamlet, which is an hour away from the capital city where I am currently. However, I am receiving what I put into it, and that amount is not awful at all. The child support amount is reasonable, and we agreed that she will drop the kids off to my residence in the capital city every other weekend. I'll just need to drive them back. Now, I see my children virtually every weekend, but it's not enough for me. It causes me so much anguish that I can't take it sometimes. I simply cannot allow 1 and 3-year-old boys to grow up without a father because of an unruly mother. I only wish I could have them, but it's not feasible due to Polish laws. I'll have to start driving there in the middle of the week or something to get by. As for her, she keeps texting me that she loves me, wishes she could go back in time, and is suffering as a result of her actions each day. She softened to the point that she told me that she no longer considers checking her phone to be treating her as garbage. She agreed and said I could do it all the time. She also said we may transfer from the tiny village to the main metropolis. She pledged to tell me everything about the affair, every detail, if I would accept her back. She came to see my parents and apologized. Something must have changed, or someone must have informed her of something. She's now eager to do anything and even displaying some guilt. The last time she messaged me, she said, "Thank you for not selling the house and ending the relationship amicably. Accepting the divorce is synonymous with agreeing to your terms. I'll have to agree in court, but let me assure you that it won't be true. I do not want this divorce, and I adore you. I know you don't believe it and I understand, but I want you to know that I hope to have the opportunity to prove my love to you someday. I adore you and am sorry for everything. There are no words to explain how much I regret everything. Things like those sway me and hinder the healing process. I'd be lying if I said her remarks didn't affect me. The idea of my boys growing up in the capital city rather than the tiny town is appealing. I know she struggles with being alone with 2 tiny boys, but she cheated and wrecked everything. I expected it to grow better with time, but the wound healed quite slowly. I shall remain the course. I'll end this. I'll update one day, maybe when I'm finally happy. What are your thoughts? Do you believe my wife is sincerely sorry? She only agreed to tell me about her infidelity after I stated I might come back, not right away. She didn't offer to let me check her phone immediately. She did not immediately volunteer to go to the metropolis from the tiny village. It took 3 months for her to demonstrate contrition. When she apologizes, she doesn't even contact or visit me. She does it over Messenger. Her entire family has now sided with her. Her mother calls me a narcissist, and her sister claims that I only want to profit from the divorce and leave a lady with 2 young sons. I paid a brief visit to my children yesterday, and she invited me to spend the night. Naturally, I left. I'd appreciate any insight. Update 8. D-Day was April 7th, and here's how I feel after nearly half a year. In such complex scenarios, the same questions must be answered on a daily basis. In my case, the question is if I still love her. Could I go back to her solely for the children? Do I want to return to her little village to complete building the house? Would I be okay with myself in 5 to 10 years knowing what she had done? The answer to all of the inquiries is a resounding negative at this point. That is it. Yes, I adore my children and wish I could spend every day with them, but I cannot. I want to love her, but I can't. Even though she wants me back. I wish I could have that family back, but I cannot. I want to forget everything, but I can't. I even gave her a second chance, which included moving to my city with the kids to begin a new life. She didn't even agree, telling me that she has her family's assistance in the little town and will not sell the house since she wants our children to have something in the future. When I informed her that family isn't the silly building, but a mother, father, and children, she just shut up. This is when I realized there is no longer a us. There is no mutual agreement or middle ground in this. I mentioned that I would not continue living in the tiny town because that is where the affair began. He observed her driving down the street and phoned her. I went on to say that I will not finish building a house 1 mile away from her AP's family home, and that I will not spend another day of my life worrying about meeting him someday. He lives abroad but pays 2 to 3 visits to his family each year. The conversation then ended. I despise the little town. She does not wish to live in the capital, that is it. Here's an example of how she approaches things. We agreed that I would take the money I put into the house and she would keep the building for the children. She now has an issue with this because there is a clause in the agreement that specifies she cannot sell the house until the children reach 18, adults in Poland. Otherwise, she will have to divide the money she would receive from selling the house evenly between herself and me. She believes this is unjust because she intends to build the house with her own money, and if it is sold, I would receive half of the proceeds from a far more expensive finished house. When I asked her why she would consider selling it, she explained that she cannot anticipate what her life will be like. I can't trust her at this point, so I'm considering just selling the building. I can't bear the thought of selling the house I bought for my children. Update 9. She sent me a message today asking for a response to her question. I'm asking you online because if I were to do it in person, we'd just shout at each other. You've told me who I am and what I've done, and you don't want to talk about it anymore. After all of this, do you want to forgive me, put the past behind you and start over with your family? Or do you already know you don't and will never be able to forgive me, and you'll never return to us? Please think about it and let me know if you want our marriage back. What does this mean? I don't think she's in a position to demand that I be so detailed right now. I believe there is another person involved, and she wants to discuss the problem with me. I replied, I'm worth more than a messenger conversation, and we'll talk soon. I chatted to her. I laid forth my only two conditions for this marriage to last. Move to the capital city and cut all links with AP and his family. The second is obvious to her, but the first is an insurmountable impediment. She apologizes for her actions, but she refuses to relocate to Warsaw because we will never be able to afford a magnificent large house there, and even tiny apartments are prohibitively expensive to rent. She claims that our children have it easy in the tiny town. She just pays the bills for the flat she presently resides in because it is her father's property. In Warsaw, she would have to spend 4 to 5 times more for a smaller flat, bills and rent. She also has enough friends and family to visit with the kids after work. That is all true. I see the children are pleased, and it is handy for her. She claimed if we moved, only I would be thrilled about it. It would boost my ego. It's just a bad scenario since she's right. Her sister owns the small town's kindergarten, which we pay nearly nothing for. She simply put me in an impossible scenario to solve. Situation: I hold my ground. I will not live in the little town, but it does not make sense for them to relocate. In this scenario, we agreed that I would simply continue to visit and spend as much time as possible with the children. I will continue to take them to Warsaw every other weekend. She informed me she will not date anyone else and will only wait for me, and that I will see for myself in the future, that she will remain single. I find it difficult to believe, but I don't really care. Maybe it's good since the kids will just have me as a father figure, rather than some random guy. During our chat, she said several things that demonstrated that she is not a remorseful person. When I asked why she hadn't phoned me once during our separation and had just texted me, she stated she didn't have time with 2 kids running around the house. She stated that she will never discuss the affair again and will not provide me with any other information if I inquire. She is done with it and will not discuss anything else with me because I informed her family some information she did not want me to share with them. She informed me that the AP had been writing to her for many years and that she had always rejected him, but when he wrote last year, she chose to start an affair with him due to my passive approach. I immediately told her what she said was very horrible, and she rolled her eyes and said, "You're only thinking about yourself. You are the only poor guy in this." Update 10. I've learned to live alone with little time with my children, and now I want to date again. Actually, I began using dating apps some time ago. I get a good number of matches, and arranging up a date with a nice woman is no problem. In general, I had 2 to 3 short-term relationships that had to terminate since I was always busy with the kids when they wanted to meet. Every other weekend is completely off, although I wish they were longer. I always lied about having a meeting or whatever, and they saw it as a lack of interest on my part. The trouble is, how can I navigate this? For the time being, I don't tell new girls that I'm almost divorced with 2 children. I discovered that the only way for the second or third date to occur is to avoid exposing this too soon. Is there a solution to this? Is there any chance a girl would stick with me if I gave her the truth from the start? Has anyone experienced a similar situation? I don't necessarily want to be in a serious relationship right now, but I hope to be in one in the future.